Welcome back to Security Explained, Episode 3, and today we're breaking down the front door. Authentication attacks are OWASP A07 for a reason. Login is where the entire trust model of your application begins, and it's where attackers spend most of their effort. Over the next 20 slides, we'll walk through how intruders get past login, how they stay in once they're there, and the layered defenses that actually hold up in production. So let's frame the problem honestly. Login is the prize. Every firewall, every permission check, every audit log behind that door becomes irrelevant the moment an attacker walks through it with valid credentials. And they're not picking the lock. They're trying millions of keys, replaying ones leaked from other breaches, or waiting until you're already inside to steal the session itself. The plan from here is simple. Understand the handful of ways logins actually break, then stack the defenses that make each one fail. And that's the key split to hold in your head for the rest of this talk. Authentication really has two halves, getting in and staying in. Getting in is everything that targets the credential itself, brute force, guessed passwords, reused logins from old breaches, phished secrets. Staying in is what happens after a successful login when an attacker steals the token or cookie that proves you're already authenticated. Every attack we cover lands on one side or the other, and so does every defense. So let's start with the getting in half, the attacks that go straight at the credential. Brute force is the blunt instrument. Try every possible password until something works. A dictionary attack is smarter. Start with the passwords humans actually pick. Password spraying flips the script. Take one common password and try it against thousands of accounts, staying under the radar of lockout thresholds. But the real heavyweight is credential stuffing, replaying username and password pairs leaked from other breaches. With billions of those floating around, password reuse is, by a wide margin, how most accounts actually fall. So let's zoom in on credential stuffing, because the mechanics are almost embarrassingly simple. Step 1. Some other site gets breached and millions of email password pairs hit the market. Step 2. An attacker buys the list, betting correctly that people reuse passwords. Step 3. Bots replay those pairs against your login at massive scale. And step 4. Every reused password is one account gone. The reason it works is the part defenders hate to admit. The attacker isn't guessing. They already know a real password. They're just checking which door it opens next. So how do we actually harden that front door? 4 layers stacked. Rate limiting and lockouts slow the bots down. If a single IP or account sees a flood of attempts, you throttle or block. Screening signups against breached password lists means leaked credentials never get a foothold in the first place. CAPTCHAs raise the cost of automation. And on top of it all, MFA, the single biggest win, because even a perfectly valid stolen password just isn't enough on its own anymore. And MFA earns that top spot because it changes the math entirely. Instead of one secret, an attacker now needs to defeat 2 completely different categories. Something you know, like a password, something you have, like a phone or hardware key, or something you are, like a fingerprint. Stick to an authenticator app or a physical key if you can. SMS codes are the weak link, since a SIM swap hands them straight to the attacker. But even flawless login logic crumbles if your database stores passwords in the clear. One breach and every account is gone. The rule is simple. Never store the password itself. Store a slow, salted hash. Reach for bcrypt, Argon 2, or script. The slowness makes cracking a stolen dump impractical, and the unique salt per user means attackers can't break everyone with a single rainbow table. So that handles getting in. Now let's talk about staying in. Once you're logged in, your session token is the new password and attackers know it. They'll hijack it by stealing the cookie through XSS, fixate a known session ID onto a victim before they log in, or grab a JWT straight from local storage or an unencrypted channel. And if your sessions never expire, one theft is a permanent backdoor, which is exactly why the XSS we covered last episode hit so hard. So how do we lock that down? Start with HTTP only and secure flags on your cookies. JavaScript can't touch them. And they only travel over HTTPS, which kills the easy XSS theft. Keep token lifetimes short and lean on refresh tokens, so even a stolen one expires before it's useful. Rotate session IDs on login and on any privilege change to shut down fixation, and make logout actually invalidate the token server side, not just wipe it from the browser. These 4 moves are the backbone of every session scheme. Cookies, JWT, OAuth, all of it. But here's the uncomfortable truth. All that crypto and session hygiene can be bypassed by just asking the user nicely. Phishing skips the tech entirely. A lookalike domain, an urgent "your account is locked" email, and the user hands over their real credentials. No brute force, no leak required. The defense that actually holds up here is phishing-resistant MFA, passkeys, or hardware keys, because they're bound to the real domain and simply refuse to authenticate on a fake one. And that's exactly where passkeys come in. Instead of a shared secret, your device holds a private key. The site stores only the public half, and you unlock it with a fingerprint or PIN. Nothing phishable ever leaves your machine. There's no password to leak, no secret to reuse across sites, and the key is cryptographically bound to the real domain. So a lookalike site simply gets ignored. In one move, passkeys quietly kill most of the attacks we've been talking about. Before we move on, let's clear up 3 myths that still trip people up. First, a strong password alone won't save you. If it's been reused and leaked anywhere else, credential stuffing doesn't care how complex it is. Only MFA closes that door. Second, SMS-based MFA is better than nothing, but SIM swapping and SS7 interception are real, so reach for an authenticator app or a hardware key when you can. And third, logging in isn't the finish line. Once you're in, the session token becomes the prize, and stealing it is just as good as knowing the password. So, with the myths out of the way, here's the short checklist for doing auth well, both halves at once. On the getting in side, offer or require MFA, hash passwords with Bcrypt or Argon 2 plus assault, and rate limit attempts so brute force hits a wall. On the staying inside, keep sessions short, mark cookies, HIP only and secure, and never park tokens in JavaScript readable storage where an excess payload can scoop them up. The pattern to avoid is the mirror image. Plain text passwords, unlimited tries, eternal sessions, and tokens sitting in local storage. And the good news is you don't have to build any of this from scratch. For the getting in half, authenticator apps give you TOTP, hardware keys like YubiKey raise the bar with FIDO2, and passkeys are pushing us toward passwordless entirely. Bcrypt and Argon 2 handle the hashing, the have I been PW and API blocks, known breached passwords at signup, and if you'd rather not run any of it yourself, Auth0, Okta, or Cognito will manage the whole front door for you. So let's pull the threads together. Remember that attacks come at both halves of the door, getting in and staying in. And credential stuffing is the one that quietly punishes every reused password out there. MFA is still your single biggest win on the defensive side. Hashes should always be slow and salted, never plain text. And once someone's logged in, that session token deserves the same paranoia as the password itself. And that's really the point of defense in depth. No single control catches everything, so you stack them until an attacker has to beat every layer to win. Strong, breach-checked passwords raise the floor. Rate limiting and bot detection kill the bulk attempts. MFA or passkeys neutralize the stolen password win, and hardened sessions shut down the after login theft. Any one of these on its own has gaps. Together, they make the front door genuinely hard to walk through. If you want to take this further, the Security Explained series walks the same layered mindset through the rest of the OWASP Top 10. Injection, XSS, secrets and crypto coming up next, and hardening in practice. And if auth is your focus, pair this episode with our Auth Explained track on JWT, OAuth, and sessions, plus the SSH hardening course to lock the front door down end to end. Everything's over at dargslan.com/courses. Before we wrap, a quick gut check for you. Look at your own stack right now. Work accounts, side projects, that old email you never log into. Is MFA actually on everything, or are some still sitting behind a password alone? And if you've moved any of them over to Passkeys yet, I genuinely want to hear how it went. Drop it in the comments. And that's a wrap on the front door. We've walked through how attackers try to get in, how they try to stay in, and the layers you stack to stop them. Next episode, we go a level deeper into secrets and cryptography, the stuff sitting behind the door. Hit subscribe to catch it, and I'll see you over at dargslan.com.